There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the April 29th Ad Hoc Training Committee meeting of the Commission on Police Practices. To get started, Darlene, our co-chair, is going to go over the training schedule action items that we've been working on for the last couple weeks. Turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. So I think maybe this first one, PERT, is now finished, right? Because we're getting that training on Wednesday.
Correct.
So I'll go ahead and delete that. Then I added one thing that I have done that Lupe, you don't know about. I copied you, Brandon, is I made a spreadsheet that has all the commissioners' names in it, and then all the training topics that have been approved so far by the full commission, so that we can keep track of who's done what. And I forwarded that to Danelle for consideration, like input, like, is this overkill? Do we not need to keep track of this? Or do we only need to keep track of some things? Or is this a good idea? And then can staff keep it up to date? So I haven't heard anything back from Danelle. I know there's a lot going on, but anyway, so that's that. And I can update you guys. It's in that same folder where we have all of our stuff, if you want to look at it. And then last meeting, we talked about how there are 2 trainings that I believe the full commission has approved. And I believe, Brandon, you were going to look at that to confirm that my understanding is correct.
Yes. And I had not looked at the video yet, but yes.
Okay.
I think I missed the last.
I looked at the minutes, and I think based on the minutes, it sounds like it was approved, but maybe I'm not reading it correctly. But anyhow, Brandon, if you could do that.
Yep.
And then the POBAR Bill of Rights, I think that was approved as something that we wanted outside counsel or the police officers union to do. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion, just for whatever. Oh, and it looks like Andrea is here as an attendee. She raised her hand. Let me move her to a participant. Hang on one second. She might have to accept the addition. Well, I will allow her to talk anyway. I think on that one, I don't personally want the POA there to present POBAR. I kind of feel there's a conflict of interest there. So okay. I kind of feel like we need to have, if it's not our outside counsel, I think we need someone that doesn't have a vested interest in telling us a very limited version of what POBAR is. But that's my personal opinion.
And Brandon,
yep, go ahead.
Brandon took the words right out of my mouth. You do not want the police union ever training you on anything other than what they think their own policies and procedures are. Dwayne, your counsel, and are you referring to Dwayne when you talk about outside counsel?
Yes.
That's the only option we have.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Dwayne isn't outside. I mean, he is your counsel. Mm-hmm. So outside counsel was when the city represented you, and then you got an outside person also. So using the term outside counsel is kind of pre-commission. He's your attorney.
What do we call him?
He's your attorney. He's your counsel.
But he's not on staff. You know what I mean? So that's
okay.
why
most people have attorneys and they're not on staff.
Is that general counsel?
I don't know if I would say general counsel. He's your attorney, but he's not outside counsel. Okay. But yes, I wonder whose idea was it to suggest that the police union should talk about POBAR?
I have no idea. Someone just suggests something, and I just record it so we can. I put it in our notes, and then we can talk about it. So I have no idea who said that.
Yeah. Dwayne is extremely familiar with POBAR. He knows POBAR inside out. Um, you know, and I would think would be your first person to go to. If you want a critique of POBAR, you might want to get someone else, but just to know what POBAR says and what it requires, I think a council would be really good with that. And again, I can't stress enough, never have the San Diego Police Department or the or the police union ever train you on anything outside of their own policies ever.
Got you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, just as she just kind of added to, is I think the whole point of us is we're independent, and so we want to make sure we're getting our own legal advice and guidance. And not to say that the POA would purposely steer us the wrong direction, but obviously they would have a vested interest in giving us a slanted view that would obviously be very pro police officer. And I think our job is to make sure that we're looking at it from a holistic level that covers everything. So yeah, I would definitely say we can talk with Dwayne and get him to take care of what we need to do for that training. And then I was remiss in saying earlier in the meeting, our community engagement coordinator, Yasmin, she did invite Andrea St. Julian and also Kate Yavadetti to this meeting. And Kate has not yet joined, and I'm not sure if she'll be able to, but Andrea, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for your input. Appreciate it. Okay, so anyway, so basically informing the commissioners about what POBAR is, and that's the point of that training. And then there's NACOL's Ethics and Decorum, which was already on our approved list. And there's a video that commissioners can do on their own. And I don't know what our recommendation is for when to suggest they do that or any kind of timeline on that. And then Alina is putting together a video on us keeping track of how much time we spend to kind of have some data in that regard. And I don't know the status of that.
I can give a quick update. So after our last commission meeting, she did ask if basically I could have a Zoom with her so she could actually see what it looks like from our view, because she has an administrator view. And so I let her know kind of what my schedule was, and we haven't had a chance to meet up. But I think the idea is she's going to do that first, and then she'll be trying to put that video together that will have staff at the commission make sure that everyone's in agreement, and then they would probably send that out to all of us as commissioners.
Okay. And then I think there's also logistics that need to be worked out about like where it'll live, or that sounded like a staff issue to me, not our committee thing, but we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I assume it'll probably just go on our YouTube page, I would think.
Okay. And then I coordinated with Chief Investigator Golub about all the things that are on the case review training academy list and which things would be priorities and wouldn't change regardless of what the operating procedures end up being for case review. And this is the list that she mentioned. So we have a lot of things we can share with Gloria when she's ready to schedule more trainings to happen during our regular commission meetings. And I don't know what the cabinet's thoughts are about scheduling separate trainings. I don't even know if that's an option because everybody feels like they're probably putting in a lot of hours already.
I think part of it is once we present some of these things, we're waiting for the cabinet to give us direction on how they want to move forward and how they want to agendize any of these trainings. So what we're trying to do as the training committee is provide, here's our best assessment of what we think is most helpful for the commission, and then kind of have them, bless it and then work on scheduling that. And then we can work with them on trying to coordinate, guest speakers, like I did with the PERT clinician teams. So I think, Darlene, let me know if you disagree, but I think we just have to wait to hear back from the cabinet on the next steps from their point of view. So roughly kind of what you think as well?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it might be a good idea to just reach out to Gloria again. You know, I can do that, just to follow up with her, like give her an update on some of these things like that I had coordinated with Chief Investigator Golub, maybe.
And we can touch base with her Wednesday
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. And then
Oh, sorry.
Ne-
I hate to interrupt. Andrea had raised her hand again.
Yeah.
So, and Andrea, I think I moved you over. Oh, you
Yeah,
might-
I have
Okay.
to some, I'm an attendee, so
Okay.
I just wanted to, I wanted to comment on the case review topics, just to make sure that I understand and maybe give a little comment if I understand correctly. So, Darlene, you mentioned the training academy. What how does that relate to what you have down here again? I didn't quite understand that.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we've had two chunks of what was called the training academy before I ever got sworn in, right?
Okay.
That we've expanded upon and has been approved by the full commission. And the first chunk was onboarding, which is a whole list of trainings that were approved at a meeting, I can't remember when, December maybe.
So-
And then the next chunk focused on topics that were related to case review. And it's a pretty
Okay.
lengthy list. And that one was approved in March, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, so out of that big long list, it might be like 15 things. It's a lot. Chief Investigator Golub thought that these were ones to prioritize and try and do sooner rather than later.
So when I look at the first one, it says legal perspective of SDP officers. I'm not quite understanding
Oh, okay.
what
hold
that
on.
means. Why do you want their perspective
Well,
instead
I
of
can
what
show
the
you.
perspective is? You see what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
do need to know and understand about the legal perspectives of something in particular, but why do you want it from the SDPD perspective?
Well, this is, let me make this bigger. This is what was approved by the full commission.
So
2D right there. So just to understand, yeah, that's all I can tell you.
yeah, I have to say that both of those things are a very big concern to me.
Mhm.
I'm not you want to understand what appropriate use of force is. You don't want to, and you know, that may be different than what the SDPD is, their perspective. When I see legal perspective of SDPD officers, it sounds as if you want to work according to what their perspective is. Now,
I don't
Yeah.
think that's
but-
true.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
then
Yes.
because now I do see Chuck Sevilla, Eugene Iredale, and Julia Yu. They
Yeah.
are fantastic.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna say
They're
this.
fantastic.
maybe it
just
needs
to
to
add a
be
little-
worded, maybe worded
Yeah,
differently.
I was gonna
No,
say
no, no,
just-
and that was just and you probably don't need to word it differently. I just understood it differently,
Oh,
so it's just my understanding. I'm sure it's absolutely fine, but that's going to be really good. So yes, thank you for showing me this. I
Okay.
understand much better, and it looks great.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea was not to have the city attorney or the police department's attorney give us their perspectives. It was kind of the overall legal concept of use of force, but having our own people give us their guidance and their advice on that.
Great, I understand, and that sounds fantastic.
And then did you have any
Okay.
questions on any of the others, like how the search and seizure piece is broken out? Did you have any thoughts or concerns on those? And the idea it'd be the same thing. Again, we would not be having SDPD training or anyone like that giving
Yeah.
those pieces. It would be, I mean, sort of like, here's how we apply what we believe, but we would still have outside consultants and, our attorney tell us what their
Great.
perspectives are.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good. Thank you.
And the other thing I would say is even though these are already approved by the commission, I think we still welcome input if we're going astray in some way, because it's just like a sketch of what, it's not the details of what the training is that will ultimately be provided, right?
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
we also I think wanted to make sure this was kind of a living document. So just because it's approved doesn't mean it's carved in stone. Like the idea is
Yeah.
if we learn new things or there's other perspectives that come up, we're going to incorporate those into what we're doing. So it'll always probably be a little bit in flux, but the idea is here's the rough framework and then we can build upon that.
Is there another term we're using for vehicle stops? Presumptives? What's the word we're using? We've been talking about it in our previous meetings.
Pretext stops?
Pretext, there you go. I couldn't
But
think of the word.
not all vehicle stops are pretext stops, right?
Okay, so is that going to be a separate category? Just another question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that, or and maybe in the business
think-
meetings we have.
Yeah, I think part of it too is with the Protect Act that City Council is working on, and to be honest, I haven't followed it in the last couple months. That if that were to move forward, and I know the union is going heavy against it, if that were to be enacted, that would change the whole concept of pretext stops, and it would change everything that is or is not allowed by those. So
Right.
I kind of, I mean, I don't know, knowing how long it took our commission to get up and running through city council,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to take a while. My guess is for the Protect Act to move
Right.
forward as well.
The protect, okay.
I think it's like, I think it's PR lowercase o text act,
Oh,
I
okay.
believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it seems like a lot of our cases recently have been pretext stops.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of them, yeah.
And
Okay.
Andrea, I see your hand up again. I don't know if that was up from the last one or if you wanted to chime in. Oh, there we go. Okay. I would say let's hold off on the pretext stop until we can at least find out what the status is on the
Okay.
Protect Act, because
Yeah,
I
I
would hate
wasn't
to-
aware. Yeah, I
I would
wasn't
hate to
aware
create
of
a whole
that.
training that then, gets discarded because it's not
Is that a local or is that a
Yes.
state?
local. It's a San Diego thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Protect is going nowhere at the moment, Brandon.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
don't worry
I-
about Protect. Don't
I
worry
didn't think
about
so.
Yeah, no, you didn't want to
Yeah.
say that, but I'll say
I-
that.
Is that because of the POA? A lot of pushback or?
Yeah,
that-
it
yeah.
was a lot of pushback by the POA, and it has never even been before a committee
Yeah.
of the council yet. So it
Hmm.
just isn't moving forward. Also, Monica Montgomery
Right.
was the person who was working on that, and she's no longer with the city council. And I don't know if Henry is going to consider it, is going to continue with it or not.
Well, I'm in his district. I could find out.
I mean, we're getting a
I
little
mean,
off topic, I guess.
Well,
But-
we're community members and
Yeah.
we could participate in, our, community politics too. I mean, if that's okay, because I'm involved in the community council for Oak Park, so we often have a lot of conversations with the district office quite a bit.
Well, I was
So
just
what-
going to say, Henry Foster, when he was chief of staff, he was very involved in
Yeah.
how the commission was moving through the process through city
Yeah.
council. And I'm pretty sure he was very well involved in, what Monica Montgomery Stepp was doing with the Protect Act. So I'm sure he probably is just trying to figure out what in his priority.
Sure,
list
I
he wants to
mean,
do,
yeah,
but,
he just started, so yeah, I'm just, whatever I can do or members of the community can do too. I mean, that often sometimes helps. Anyway,
I think the
Okay.
next one we had was this is like a topic that comes up frequently, was the racial impacts, or impacts of racial identity profiling. We did have the ACLU come back in October, I think.
Yep. That
And
was
they gave a
October.
presentation, but we wanted to kind of expand upon that and build upon that piece, because I think it was only like a 30 or 45-minute presentation, which
Mhm.
barely scratches the surface.
Yeah. And then we did reach out to Captain Peterson about what things that SDPD provides that commissioners might be able to participate in. And we haven't heard back from him yet. So that's just another thing on our action item list. And then I can close that and we can look at special topics. And
And I see a phone number joined us, and that might be Kate,
Okay.
or it's just a member of the public.
Okay, so just kind of going to the comments that we have in this document, the implicit bias one, Brandon, you were going to screen the NACOL video to see if that really applied to our circumstance. Do you have an update to report on that?
No, but I've highlighted.
Okay. So what should I can update this?
I'll review it this week and have it in time for next Monday's meeting.
Okay. My typing's bad. Okay, whoops. All right, and then Lupe, you and Yasmin were investigating, what is this one? Oh, other options for implicit bias training.
Okay, I haven't really done much work on that, but I'll
Okay.
try, I'll try to get in on that one.
Okay,
Sorry,
so will you have an update
next Monday.
by the next meeting? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
There was also a little tiny bit off topic. There was, and I just looked it up. Harvard a couple years ago did an implicit association test is what they
Right,
called it.
I
you
took it.
kinda-
I
Yeah,
took it.
I did it several years ago, but that could
Yeah.
be something that we could also potentially add. And then, commissioners can kind of take it and just for themselves, see how they responded on that.
I was
Okay.
surprised. I was really surprised for my score.
And I think I already put the objective and the purpose. I did that already, so that's done. Okay. Moving on. The civil or human rights and law enforcement. I think, Brandon, you were going to get more details about Tatiana's presentation that she gave to the lawyer group.
Yes, I had that on my list as well. I will do it tonight. I will send her an email.
Okay.
Did you get my email with the American Friends Service Committee with Mr. Rios? Or is another section that's not in 5A? It's for immigrant rights, law enforcement contact with immigrants.
That might be a separate
separate.
one.
Actually, this
Oh,
includes
that's-
refugees, undocumented, disabled. Because I think I sent you an email, the contact information of Mr. Rios. He's the head of the chapter of the American Friends Service Committee. Whoops.
Maybe I think no, that's not part of this one. That's further down. Where is that? I'm looking. Sorry. Hopefully I don't make you guys too sick. Here it is right here. Pedro Rios, American Friends Service Committee. It's listed right there. But okay, let's go back because I don't want to miss the stuff in between. But yes, I added it in here. Blah, blah, blah. All right. So here's my question on this one. I put the special populations in here. But because here's my struggle. I don't want us to be, because already our like training academy lists where this is a third list of things that we're suggesting that commissioners will want to learn, right? And how to like streamline it. I mean, nobody's going to be experts on all of these things. So I wasn't sure if including the impact on the special populations could just be rolled into this, or if we need to really have separate sessions on every single population. That's my question.
Sorry, guys, I lost you for a few minutes there.
Okay, so what I was saying, this topic 5A about a panel presentation on civil or human rights and law enforcement, I was wondering if we wanted to roll all the special populations into a panel so they could touch on this topic, because we run the risk of having a separate presentation on every single special population, and then like nobody can consume all that information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my question for you all. Do we want to keep all these separate trainings? So keep that in mind as we go through.
Well, we're having one. Oh, that's PERT. Never mind. I was looking at the mentally ill. Okay. Okay.
I think kind of, my general rule of thumb, for whatever it's worth, is I try to look at what do we tend to see the most complaints touch base on. And those are the ones that I think are probably the most helpful to have the full commission have
Okay.
training on.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of really important topics, but
I know.
I think if we
Yeah.
can focus on the one where we get 80 to 90% of the issues,
Yeah.
and then if people want to do their individual training on other topics, and they maybe can even bring some of those best practices back and give a presentation when they do commissioner comments, they can say, hey, I did this training on, whichever topic it is, and here's some of the things I learned that I thought you guys might find helpful. That's kind of the way I try to do it, is because we've already heard, as Dawn was saying, we've already heard a couple of commissioners say, like, God, there's so much training, that we're trying to make sure we're aware of the hours we're asking them to volunteer for training on this.
Sure. No, I get it.
All right. So as we go through, if you see things that are already included here, we can delete them later. All right. So this would be, let's see, where am I at? Oh, yeah. Oh, once again, I put, so the panel is on of the experts, I thought, 5A, and then 5B is having individuals that were directly impacted. That's the idea between breaking out those two. I don't know. Are they really separate things? I'm not sure.
I kind of personally like them being separate, but I mean, again, I think the idea is we wanted to present, what do we finalize here in this document? We want to take that to the commission and have them chime in. The reason why I think it's kind of helpful is, for example, when the old CRB was looking at the carotid restraint, we had professionals come in and, there's a doctor from Kentucky that talked about how the carotid restraint can be harmful and what kind of problems it can cause. The police department then came in and talked about the training. And then we also had people who had that experience, so they had been put in the carotid restraint. They talked about their experience. I don't know if you've had that trauma, if you would necessarily want to be there when the officers are talking about how they apply it, or how, a clinician or a doctor might be speaking of that. So I think having this one separate is probably helpful, because we can hear firsthand the experience of people who have experienced those issues, without having, any, I don't know, crossover trauma from having to relive hearing it from, a professional or a law enforcement officer. But that's my thought.
Okay. All right. That sounds cool. So now we're getting into these we have a separate presentation for each of these special populations. So my question is, do we delete the experiences of youth one? Because it'll already be handled in the expert panel and then a roundtable.
I like having it in here, because especially the fact we have 2 youth seats, but I think what we're experiencing is that getting youth to show up is becoming a little bit hard. I think something like this might be a little bit easier, because if they only have to show up, for one meeting, I think that might be a different story. But I think we'd have to really leverage, Yasmin and her expertise in trying to help get some of those individuals to come in and share their experiences.
Yeah. Hello, this is Dwayne.
Hi, Dwayne.
How you doing? Hey, I've been listening. I was the one, Brandon, that was on the phone. I just didn't know how to get in. I've been trying to get in since 6 o'clock. But in regards to what you guys are saying about this, I think, I can help getting the word out to getting some youth from my community to come and speak. But I think the fact that they could be represented in 5B and actually in 5A, we may cut down on a day that, a training or whatever that extra day would be. If it would have been separate, I think we can cut that out if we if we have representation on those other two, and it doesn't have to be the same person, it could be different individuals. And another question is when you're saying youth, are we talking minors or are we talking young adults? How old is a person, you know, when is a person not a youth? You know, at what age? So what age are we looking to represent the youth? And
I
if
mean,
that's in the representation of the individuals that were on the that are represented on the CPP, what was that age that they were looking for, to get a person on the commission?
That's 18 to 24, I believe.
Okay,
It is,
all right.
yeah, correct.
Okay, so then if we're talking about youth, because I can get individuals that are even younger than that, actually. But if we're talking about getting individuals between 18 and 24, I think we can get someone that's relatively an expert get someone that can be on the panel, and get someone also that can speak on it.
I think for the experience of youth, I think it's okay to go younger than 18. The 18 issue was just because that was what we had to do as an adult. We had to have some of those 18 in order to be on the commission. But I mean, I guess my only thought is I don't want to go too young. Like I don't want a 10-year-old showing up because I don't want to put them through something, but maybe like 16, 15, 16, maybe.
High school kids. Yeah, high school kids. Because we do get a lot of high school kids that have, that interact with PD.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do just say 15 to 24, or even 15 to 18. I mean, I think that would be a solid experience.
But so my question is, do we want to keep this as a separate panel? A separate presentation?
I think if we present it to CPP as something separate, and if they have any ideas, we can ask the entire group, because that's something that they feel could be combined or separate. Because I think either or is fine.
Okay. And then this mentally ill individuals, I noticed that on the Case Review Training Academy list, we have something already. So let me pull that up. Sorry if I'm making you seasick. It'll be over in a minute. So we have the best practices, and NAMI was one of the presenters, which is the same thing. We have NAMI as one of the presenters for the special topics here.
I think we might just want to pull it since it's more or less the same thing twice.
And then this one was what kind of training does the PD get on it? And this one, then this one here is just how mentally ill people have been directed. Yeah, I think we should delete it from here if you all agree.
I think so. And then I think when PERT comes in this Wednesday, I mean, it'll also give an opportunity for commissioners and the public to ask questions about that. So I think this almost becomes a duplicate than something we already have.
Okay. Well, is NAMI going to be included at some point, because they come from a different perspective than PERT?
Yeah, it's
More
right
the-
here.
NAMI's-
Okay, because they come from a consumer. I just did a walk this past weekend. I did a 5-mile walk for them.
Yeah,
as a
see, it's
fundraiser,
right.
yeah.
It's right here on the this is the case review one that's already been approved by the commission.
Oh, and by the way, I stopped by at the PERT booth at where they had it at the Naval Training Center, the NAMI, their annual NAMI walkathon for a fundraiser. And I asked one of the sheriff's deputy there that was on the booth, and of course there were other people in the PERT booth. They gave me some information, some handouts and stuff like that. And I asked, well, how long is your PERT training? I know you're sheriff's deputy, you're not San Diego PD. And she said a week. And also, it depends if they can get into the PERT Academy, which is separate. Anyway, just FYI, that's what I learned over the weekend. And then I did stop at the Crisis Mobile Unit booth, and I picked up some information from there too, a ton of information, written and spoken, whatever. Anyway.
Okay, then I had the same comment on the working with the refugee and undocumented and immigrant communities, because when we go to 6A and B, now I'm shifting over this is the case review academy. We already have Muslim ARC, other organizations talking about best practices regarding cultural awareness. It's slightly different, but I don't know if you feel like that would cover the immigrant community, or if we should keep it on the special topics list.
I mean, I think it's a good thing to learn about, because I think there's a lot. I mean, for myself, I don't know how like immigrant communities feel they're policed or over policed, and I think it'd be an interesting perspective to hear.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I kind of would like to leave it.
yeah,
Okay.
I would agree too.
Okay. All right. And then we have disabilities. So this is one, I don't know, it's kind of like a similar one to the youth. Do we want to have it be a separate, or is it already included in 5A and B?
I feel like this one can be a shorter training that maybe just comes into one of our standard commission meetings. What comes to mind is, and this was several years ago, what sparked at the time the CRB to bring it forward was there was someone who was deaf, and an officer was basically telling them to stop, but obviously they couldn't hear. And so that individual got thrown to the ground. And so they basically were sharing with us that experience as a deaf community. So I think something like that, I mean, it is probably a one-off, but I think it's probably something that could be, a short 20 to 30-minute training we have in one of our standard commissionings. And then we can also, have someone from SDPD, come in and talk about what their policy is on how they work with people that have, they're hard of hearing or things like that.
Okay. All right, moving on. What type of community relations and outreach does the PD actually do? That's what this item was supposed to be. And I don't know who is the appropriate person to do that from the PD. Do you know? Does anybody know?
I'm thinking we would probably just reach out to one of the CROs, community resource officers. So each division, I believe, has one or two of those officers that's their job is.
I have one in my community.
I mean, I know the person who does, North Park, but that might be a good person. And then, I don't know if we want someone that's, higher up to talk about what the department's perspective is on that. But San Diego, once upon a time, used to be really, well, I don't know, with my current understanding doing what we do here with CPP, it's a little bit different, but San Diego used to have, departments from across the country come here for their community oriented policing seminars. And so San Diego was initially held up as a model of how they work with the community. And I think, with budget cuts that stopped, but I don't know if that's something that maybe they can talk about, or if they want to talk about it, or yeah.
Or maybe we want a community resource officer from a certain division. Ooh, maybe Andrea has an idea.
Yeah, I see your hands up, so.
No, I mean, I don't know if I have an idea, but I do agree with you, Brandon. San Diego was held up as a model decades ago.
Right.
And unfortunately that has changed. But I guess I'm just curious, because you did talk about how, people are feeling a little overtrained. Why this particular topic? I'm not sure how that helps you in your work. I mean, why do you want to know? I mean, why do you need to spend an hour on what SD? Because, and I'm going to be just really blunt, because the thing you have to be careful of is, an SDPD infomercial, right?
Sure.
Rah rah SDP, we're so great, we do community relations and outreach. I don't know how that helps you.
Yeah, no, I don't think the idea, and we probably should have shared this a little bit earlier. So some of these chunks of training could be just taught at one of our existing commission meetings, where it could be anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. So they hopefully have an hour long presentation on something like this. But obviously some topics are much more important than others, and some are you can't get to the heart of it in 15 minutes.
Well, I think Andrea has a really good point though,
Yeah.
because like with a community resource officer coming to our meeting, and our purpose is to discover any areas for the commission to influence improvements. I don't think we're going to get that out of this presentation. Like they're
And I
not going to say, "Oh, I really suck in this way," right? I mean, I'm being silly
Yeah.
now, but you know
Right.
what I mean. Like I think Andrea has a really good point. I don't see how this is going to further our purpose.
If
Maybe-
you wanted to improve community relations, the people you need to talk to are people in the community who can tell you SDPD, it needs to do this and this and this better. If you're going to do that. I mean, I don't know if, again, I'm just thinking also of you, in terms of being over trained, and if people have little time. I just don't see how this particular topic benefits you that much, and benefits you in the world and the work that you do.
Maybe we strike this for now, and then we also can wait until the city council meeting later this week, where CAB might be getting dissolved. Some of the conversation about that is the commission already does some of that work anyway. And if it does get resolved, we might need to see how we're adopting some of their requirements on community engagement, things like that. But maybe we just pull it out for now.
All right, this next one is directly out of the ordinance. The ordinance says that our training program must include instruction on, I don't know. I don't even know what this means, because we already have a separate category on civil or human rights and criminal justice. And then we have a separate one on the impacts of racial and identity profiling. So I don't know what this means. Does this mean the community comes to us and says you've satisfied the ordinance rules or not? I don't know. I don't even know what this means.
I think in general, this piece wasn't in the ordinance, but I think everything that we've proposed in the training for all three segments is kind of addressing this issue. So I think this is kind of woven into all of the other
Okay.
training components. So I would
Okay.
almost say we can pull that out as a specific training topic, because I think the
Okay.
concept of that is in almost everything else we've done in
Yeah.
these three
Okay.
documents.
Okay, now this one, now please remember that these things, the way these training academy files, like what we're going through right now, I started based on what was put together by the interim commission, right? So this was, or when Charmaine was still here, I don't know where that, maybe it came from something beyond the interim commission. But anyway, this was on there. And it doesn't seem like it needs to be a session or whatever. It seems to me like just, for example, if that NACOL video on implicit bias or whatever is a really good one, there's an email that goes out to the whole commission and says, hey, here's this video, please watch it in the next month or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and I have checked out like the annual conference for materials and all of that. And I think it's too much to ask commission members to go through and weed through that stuff and figure out what's salient to our work. I think if anybody does it, it should be staff or like a ad hoc committee like ours. I don't know. I think it's nice to let people know stuff, but letting people know something, that's like saying, here's the library, have a good time. You know what I mean? It's just too much. That's my 2 cents.
It's kind of the drinking from a fire hose concept.
Mhm.
I think in the past, what people who have attended the NACOL conference, after that, they've come back to a commission meeting and they've used commissioner comments to talk about what topics they found were most helpful and what could be brought to and incorporated into what we do here in San Diego.
And that didn't happen in the fall because we didn't have enough time at that meeting and it never got brought up again. So
Yeah, we should ask.
Mm.
I would say maybe we pull this out as a specific training topic. Because, and again, just because it's been historically done this way doesn't mean it'll be done this way in the future. I believe we have or had budget for 8 people, either staff or commissioners, to go to the annual conference. And I think that'd be just one of those things where it would kind of continue is, usually it's the cabinet is invited to go. And then I believe, we had a couple spots for like it was the executive director. And if we have a deputy executive director at some point, some of those roles that they could attend. And then if we had spots, we'd allow other commissioners to go as well. But I think, yeah, we just pull that one out.
Okay, and now the PERT one we're doing, that's happening. And then I put an objective. I have a hard time sometimes creating a purpose different than objective, but so that's what's missing on this.
I mean, I think the purpose of that is just to learn. I'd just say like learn how STPD officers incorporate PERT clinicians into mental health. Oh, I don't want to say stops because there's not always stops, but mental health interactions with law enforcement or law enforcement interactions with.
I can't type. Right.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, moving on. I don't know what the police officers union was mentioned somewhere. I don't know what kind of presentation we want on that.
I think let's pull that personally for now.
Okay.
I think if there ever is something where the POA is involved, they're probably going to be involved with the executive director and the cabinet. I don't know if the full commission has to be part of that.
Okay. All right. And then something that came up recently was this idea of vicarious trauma. So, and this was something I think Olga brought up or Yasmin brought up, right? So I just put all the notes that were shared in that, but basically because we're commissioners, we're watching this body worn camera footage, it's going to impact us. And so providing us some maybe tools, guidance, ways of dealing with that.
I think it's good. I know not many commissioners have had to watch anything so far that is super traumatic, but unfortunately it probably will happen. And I think it'd be better for commissioners to have that basis of understanding of what is available as a resource before they need it rather than after they need it. So I think it's a good thing to have in there.
Okay. I think, and this is the last thing here. This was brought up by one of our newer commissioners. Why can't I think of his name
Armando?
right now?
Armando.
Yeah, that, recently, I think the International Association of Chiefs of Police had their conference, and that he thought that might be something where commissioners might want to go to that. I don't know if we need to have it on the special topics list or just have staff keep their eyes open and I don't know, because this is not going to be exhaustive.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the onboarding and the case review ones were like really subject on, and some of these are just extras.
I think again, my personal opinion, for whatever it's worth, I think something like this is helpful for our staff to be aware of. And maybe we have, our chief investigator or investigators might go to that, or the executive director might go to that. I don't think the commission as a whole needs to be part of this. But I think it's something that staff, I think, can kind of monitor and maintain. But I mean, I know for me, I wouldn't want to go to that. I don't think I'd find anything of value there. But I mean, our staff might.
I would be interested in the domestic violence one, you know, that's for my own purposes. The sexual assault and the violence against women international. I didn't know they had a conference here.
I think that's just this year, right?
Yeah, it
Not
was this
every
year. Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It just passed already, but it
Mhm.
would be interesting. Maybe the staff can let us know about it if people are interested in going. That's all,
Yeah.
you know.
Andrea, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I have just kind of an overall comment, if you all don't mind, seeing if I don't know if you want to talk about the special topics more, but I just had kind of an overall thing I wanted to say about training. Is now the appropriate time for that?
Sure.
Okay, so and two things. This is something, and I've mentioned this to Danelle, and she said she thought that was a good idea. I would actually like to do a training talking about, you know, the history and the inception of Measure B and what the community was really looking for in the new commission. And you'll understand a little bit more why I'm saying that, because you know, you all have obviously done great trainings, and it's amazing all the work that you've done and everything you've done with training so far. I think a lot of the focus is on case review. And I think that that is appropriate for this early stage. But I'm seeing that it may be time to move into a fuller understanding of what the commission is about. If this commission just works on case review, it's going to turn into nothing more than the old CRB. Okay. That is not it is an important job of the new commission, case review and investigation, but there is a really even higher purpose in looking at what the policies, practices, and procedures of the police department are, and understanding and formulating suggested changes to those procedures. So, you know, if you always are just looking at case review and what has been perhaps done wrong or incorrectly, you're really not focusing, you're really just looking backwards. Looking at the policies and procedures and how they should be changed or suggestions that you can make, that's looking forward and working in such a way so that harm doesn't happen in the future. So to this point, your training has been very heavily weighted on case review. I get that. But you know, I think the commission needs to start looking toward a higher level of review and understanding of the police department, because that's really the main purpose of the new commission. And so I would like to come and talk to the commission about that and understanding really the focus. Now, let's also be clear. You really needed to start out with case review and understanding what that's about. And also, you still don't have your ED yet, and you still don't have any policy people on board. So I completely and totally understand that. But, you know, I think it's time maybe for you all to start looking at the larger picture. Because if you get so sucked into only doing reviews and spending so much time on reviews, you won't have the time to do the higher level work that the commission was created to do. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Do you think it fits in with this number 11 from our onboarding training academy?
Um,
It
'cause we
doesn't
put-
100% say exactly what you're talking about, but
yeah.
But we put you
Yeah.
down there for it. We were
Okay.
intending on having you come and do a presentation on kind of the history of the oversight and how the commission came into play.
That
and
sounds
where it's supposed to go next, right?
yeah. And that sounds good. Yeah, I would love to do that. Be very happy to do that. And that's a good list of organizations for that. But yeah, it's so easy just to get sucked into the minutia of case review and not have the energy and bandwidth to do the higher level oversight that the commission was really created to do.
You're not wrong. I think we all
No,
agree on
yeah.
that one. Yeah.
And also just that, and I hope that you all are doing this, and Darlene, you said something that was just really spot on. You need to make sure that the staff does as much work as possible, while at the same time making sure that the commissioners themselves are the only ones who are making the bottom line decisions. And I know it's kind of a fine line, a tightrope to walk, but you and Brandon, I hope that you've told them about how completely and totally overworked CRB members were and the interim commissioners were. And you've got, and when you get overworked, again, you don't have the energy to address the higher level goals and objectives of the commission. And you cannot let yourselves get that overworked.
I will say just, again, totally not part of the training topic here, but to your point, we've had several commissioners that have actually said in meetings and in case review meeting, when can we start discussing changing policies and making policy recommendations? So your point is valid and we know about it. And I think a lot of people are looking for that. And I think to your point is once we do have that full-time executive director on staff, we're hoping to get, our policy analyst and a bunch of other positions hired quickly thereafter. That would allow us to really be able to start doing a lot of those things.
So when because I was part of the community panel on the executive director, what is the timeline for getting the executive director on board?
I'm not the right person to ask.
I know the answer, and I don't know, is it okay if I share stuff like that?
I think so. What I've heard is the goal is June.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen by then.
That seems fast to me, but I heard that was the goal.
Well, we will have finished the interviews. So the ad hoc committee for the city of San Diego that I'm on, those interviews are going to happen in May.
Okay.
And then it has to go to the city council after that.
Okay.
So I think that'll happen hopefully like their first meeting in June or something like that.
Okay.
And then you need all the the chances that somebody will be on board by July 1, which is what I thought was so doable. I don't know. I don't know.
So, but Raul and Marnie are on the committee to propose the executive director, correct?
Yes.
So I think whoever you all suggest, I think the city council should be pretty much on board with. I mean, I think they'll probably go along with whatever your committee decides. But the problem is when is that meeting, when is the city council going to have the meeting to actually appoint that person?
Right. And they have, it's really tough time right now. We're dealing with the
budget,
and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay.
But see, the problem is they go on hiatus in August.
Right.
So it's got to be done by by July. It has to be.
I think that I mean, if the person doesn't start July 1, I think it'll be shortly. The decision I think will be made way before August. But what do I know? I don't, I have no power.
Well, and again, I mean, I think I will say the good thing that I've heard is I do think that they know we need leadership quickly.
Yeah.
Like real full-time leadership. And so I think they realize it's something they need to move as quickly as city can move at their speed at. But I mean, I do think like when I first heard June, I was like, that's great, but that seems aggressive. But I mean, I think partially too is we really, and things may have changed because I'm not on that committee, but until we can hire all those other positions, we need that executive director slot filled first. So, absolutely. And we need all those staffers to be able to help do all the work that the commission is trying to do. So, it's a big process.
No, no, I totally get it. You can't, until you get the ED, you cannot get all your staff. And until you get all your staff, you cannot offload a lot of the work that you're doing, you know? So I get it, but I just want to make sure that I let everybody know that, it's really dangerous. It's really easy to fall in the same old patterns of the old CRB and not move into the full duties of the commission. It's really easy to do that.
I do think we are making some progress though, like having the public hearing, and we have the ad hoc committee on looking at vehicle pursuits. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to report out on Wednesday, and we'll see what progress they've made. So it's something.
Fantastic. Oh, no. Excuse me because I do want to say you all are doing a great job. Okay. I could have never dreamed that that the people on this commission would be as good as they are. Okay. You are doing a great job. And I just really want to stress that.
Well, the one thing I will do is, since I'm going to follow up with Gloria and the cabinet anyway on, hey, here's some upcoming things, I can put this history of oversight thing on that list of trainings we can do soon.
Okay, that would be great. Great. All righty.
I was gonna say, I think we're over our hour mark.
we
so
are.
I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And I think we were kind of done anyway with that the special topics page, I believe.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we'll have to have another meeting to report out on our outstanding issues, but I think we're getting close.
All right. Well, with that, does anyone have any final comments or questions?
Only to say thank you.
Well,
And
thank you so much for attending. Appreciate it.
bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And we'll see you guys all on Wednesday.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, guys.